do that.
Do
But
you ever
like,
find it like if you released like a big like record, like your family are like, oh, so you must have loads of money now. Like say if like you get a record that does well, everyone thinks you earn a heap ton of money off like releasing music.
it's really weird because like I'm like really close to my family, and we
Mm,
like my parents know so much about my careers. Like they know
hmm.
fees and everything, and they
Yeah,
understand
yeah,
it
yeah.
all. So like, no, they know that it's like you're not earning money realistically in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, your mates definitely, like your mates will hear you on Radio One and think you're a fucking millionaire.
Yeah. I remember when the remix for Josh like was going like insane. I think who played it? Like I think Nick Grimshaw played it on in the morning,
Yeah.
just once, and that's when mum and dad were like, "That's you," and I was like, "Yeah, I made it in your loft." Like, and then he was like, "Fuck." So my dad was like, "So you must be minted now." I was like, "Dad, I didn't make a penny from that record,
Yeah.
not a single penny." And he's just like, "No way." He's like, "So you just got to speak to you to get some money out of it." I was like, "That's not how it
Who are we
works."
sending the
Like,
heavies round?
I just literally signed a contract to do a remix that was zero fee on it and zero percentages.
Oh, really?
Kills me to this day, man.
What label was that?
It was on MTA. So basically, there was two remixes, wasn't there? So the first, should I say this? I'm going to say it. So the first remix came out on MTA.
Yeah.
Well, the very first remix I did, the label knocked it back, which was the one that got really popular.
Yeah.
And I played it to Pleasurecraft,
Yeah.
and he was like, we'll release that on my label, and we'll do it as like because you can't just do the Bonton remix on MTA
Yeah. Yeah.
and then the Bonton remix on the label. So we'll do a Bonton versus Pleasurecraft edit.
Yeah.
And that second one is the one that came out on Pleasurecraft's label. It did really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't sign anything for that either. Yeah, I know.
Let's talk about
Yeah, that was tough.
that. Sorry.
Yeah.
It happens a lot. I'm
It
trying.
happens, and I had no management, nothing. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like it was messed up because that edit got taken down off all platforms.
Mm.
It did really well, and then MTA took it. I don't know who took it down. It was licensed by Sony for something, and then it got really messy because it was like no one knew
Who owned
So
what?
I signed a contract to do the remix for Josh on MTA,
Yeah.
which was just a standard sort of like heads of agreement. There was nothing.
Yeah.
It was one page. I just signed it. The remix. I didn't think it was going to do anything. It was like didn't ask for any money. First ever track. I was like, it's good to be on the label. And then I obviously did that first one that Pleasurecraft heard, and he was like, "Mate, this is massive."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Well, MTA rejected that." And he was like, "Let's release it on my label." And then he got in touch with MTA and then subleased my remix.
Yeah.
I don't know how it really worked.
Yeah. He
and
would have
then
licensed your remix.
changed it to but then we did the edit, which got really. The edit was the original remix that got knocked back by MTA. We just did a little Skype chat and did change the arrangements, and then released it on his label. I didn't sign anything for that either, or ask for a fee. And second highest seller on Beatport.
You just think they'd fucking give you some money.
That's how it is.
It is how
It's
it
asking
is.
someone for money, though, isn't it? It's like, do you know what I mean? It's just human nature. Someone comes up to you and says, "Can I have some money?" Even though initially I did sign a contract for MTA, which probably covered the entirety of
Yeah.
what happens going forward. I don't know. But something happened where everything got taken down. I didn't have a representation. I had no management, nothing.
Yeah.
So that remix was smashing it on Beatport. So the edit of the remix, which was both me as well. Everyone, because I remember when I first started touring out, people were like, "Oh, so you're only good because Pleasurecraft edited your remix," and I was just like, granted, we did it at Skype chat, and we did the arrangement together and stuff. which is an edit.
Yeah.
So it's right. It is an edit of the remix.
But it's a Bontan and Pleasurecraft edit, not a Pleasurecraft edit.
Yeah, well, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's says Bontan versus Pleasurecraft edit, which is right. That's what it is. That's what we did. But yeah, I wish I'd signed something.
Well, I had MK on the podcast and he spoke about his Nightcrawlers remixes or Nightcrawlers, and he doesn't have a single penny on any of them. He got $5,000, and Nightcrawlers made millions.
Again, no, I signed the contract.
Yeah.
Like again for the initial remix, which obviously covered everything. Well, it must have. But then I don't know what happened because it got stripped off everything.
Yeah.
So when it started doing popular, getting really popular, MTA hit me up and they were like, "Did you sign a contract for this?" And I was like, "Yeah, like heads of agreement that you sent, I signed it." And they were like, "No, you know what? I didn't. You just reminded me. It got popular, and then they sent me a contract to sign."
Oh, really?
And they were like, "We need this by the end of the week. Like, we need this contract." And I was like, "Shit, what do we do?" They never manage it. I was like, "Fuck." And then I was like, "What for?" I was like, "Well, you need to sign the contract for the remix that you've done." And I was like, "So what does this cover?" And I signed it. And I know because I just felt like so much pressure. I was like, "Shit,
fucking wankers."
I'm never gonna get asked to do anything ever again if I don't sign this contract." I can't even remember who it was.
Was it for life as well?
Yeah, sorry.
Was it for life?
No, it was just a heads of agreement, just a standard contract.
No, but that's what I mean. Like, do you know the term? How long the terms were?
I can't even remember. I've not even looked at it.
Josh will have the contract because after a certain amount of years, the record will come back to you guys.
Yeah, that's true. But as a remix, I don't think it would.
Yeah, it will come back to Josh.
I'll be hitting Josh up for some cash.
Yeah, mate. Well, yeah. MTA was MTA a major?
I think it was. Yeah,
it was.
I don't think it was necessarily the MTA team that were pushing it. I think it was the majors that owned the label.
Yeah, I can't remember who owned MTA.
Yeah, and then because they were like, "Can you sign a contract for the remix?" I signed it, and then like a couple of weeks later, it got taken down off everything. So it wasn't like they were trying to get me to sign it so they could just then take all the cash. It was kind of like they wanted to take it back because I don't know what had happened.
So
it kind of just got pulled. I've never seen it before in terms of like how messy the situation was. And I wasn't privy to any conversation, just little bits of it. Of like, right, so you need to sign this. I was like, cool. My first ever remix. I was like, I'd probably do it again now if I was first starting out. Because
this is the thing, and this is why this podcast is great for it, because there's going to be a fuck ton of kids that probably hear this and are like, don't fuck, like, it's just stealing.
Yeah. But the thing is, like, if it wasn't for that, I don't think I'd be sat here now doing this.
But the record was doing well before you signed the contract.
True.
Like, good music does well.
Yeah.
And I think I understand what you're saying, that you're like, that record was that record has allowed you to do everything else.
Yeah, sure.
Which, great. Yeah, it has. But somebody's also made a fuck ton of money. And I know I don't want to bring all this up because it's like, I'm sure you processed it and everything like that, but somebody else is making money out of
someone
that.
Else. Yeah, someone else.
Like,
I don't know who. Like, I honestly couldn't tell you who, or whether it's one of the majors or whatever, but
somebody has. And that is the joys of doing a remix, right? Like, you get a remix fee, or like, and even now, like, when I get asked to do remixes, I will push hard on the percentages, and I'll push hard on on publishing now. Like,
more so than actual fee for me. Yeah. I'll always push for percentages rather than get a DJ fee in.
Yeah,
sorry, not a DJ fee, a remix fee.
Yeah,
because you know, I'm not, especially now for me, that off chance it might just go mental.
Yeah,
and then there's thousands and thousands and thousands.
I think push for publishing as well, because realistically, you're writing a whole new record. And
true,
and it's still you as an artist. And I think this is the thing that no one gets taught about when you're kind of coming up, and no one tells you about music law. Like, none of us fucking have a clue about it. Like,
I thought I was like, if I don't know what it was. It was like I was shitting myself about signing this contract.
Yeah,
So I'd never
exactly. Yeah.
really released any music before.
Yeah.
And it was doing so well. I was like, so if I don't sign this, it's going to get taken down off everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit, I need to keep this alive because it
Yeah.
was peak, like
Yeah.
going crazy. And it got taken down anyway.
Even my first like management contract, I got a music lawyer to look at it, and I still didn't have a fucking clue what I was signing, and then
Yeah.
regretted it after I signed it.
You
Like,
just trusting the music lawyer then at that point.
exactly, and it's like I don't know this fucking dude. Like,
Yeah.
it could be anybody, and like,
I've never signed a management contract
no,
ever. I don't think I ever will either.
I won't
Just
ever
because
again.
no,
From
it's
that.
because you're working with each other. Like that's just the way it should be. It's sort of like a gentleman's agreement. Like you work together, you commit to each other, and if it doesn't work out, you part ways, and you have to pay someone for the next year or two afterwards.
Totally agree, and I think
I'm guessing that's kind of what happened to you. Did you sign it?
yeah, I signed it, and then I tried to leave, and he tried to sue me for £250,000, and I'm like, oh, I'm not actually supposed to talk about this.
I wasn't meant to talk about the thing as well, but here we are.
Here we are. It's gone now. We're all friends.
Yeah.
I didn't pay him 200. I was like, mate, if I can afford £250,000, I would not be suing you. I would not be leaving you. Like, we'd be very successful, and we wouldn't be leaving. Like, come on, let's do the maths here. Like, you know how much money I earn. Like, yes, I'll pay you. And then, yeah, cut long story short, I got out of it, but ended up paying him money. But it was, yeah,
It gets messy. Like one thing I would say, if people are sort of starting out, it's just always, again, no, I'd say read contracts and be wary, but like, what does that mean? Again, if I was put in the same position, starting out again, I'd do the same thing over again. I just would. I genuinely feel like I would. Just out of anxiety that it wasn't going to keep going if I didn't.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just a learning curve. I wouldn't do it now, but if I was starting out again, I'd probably do this the exact same way.
Yeah.
I wouldn't change a thing. I'd be sat 10 years on fuming.
Yeah, I agree, because I also think, like, even now, like, I still, there's so much I don't know about, and I still have to do so much research, and like, 'cause I write music for other people, and like, then I get the deals through, and they're talking about PPD and stuff like that, and I'm like, I need to fucking learn so much, and like, they're talking about certain deals, and I'm like, I Google so much now, and then I just call friends that are in higher places that know more about it than me, and I think, and I call like multiple people, and then I get like 3 different answers, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, no, and then I realize like no one actually really fucking knows what they're doing here, and it's just winging it. And realistically, it's the big labels are making the money out of the people that are creating all the great music.
Yeah, mate, it's true. Like, again, going back to what happened for me, MTA was owned by a major then as well. I've got under no impression it wasn't the major labels that pull the strings for every decision that happens.
Of course.
And that ain't going to change.
No, it's not.
Until, like, releasing music, you set up on your own label and releasing music that way. But in terms of the bigger stuff, the majors just call the shots.
Yeah.
And if you're just starting out like I was and put in a position where you had to sign something, I just did, and I probably would again.
Yeah.
Just out of pressure, like I said, pressure. It's kind of fucked up, but is it ever going to change? Will it ever change?
No. There's always going to be.
Well, it's a world I'm happy to live in, unfortunately.
That's the thing. It's sad that it is like that, but realistically, we can complain about it all we want, or we can just get on and write as best music as possible and keep going.
That's it. Yeah, man. That's all we do.
Like, realistically, the majors, especially in our world, like, the majors sign a dance record not really because it's going to necessarily do well as well. Like, they have fucking Adele. Like, they don't need us, if you know what I mean.
No.
They're signing culture. That's the reason why I feel like they're signing dance records is because of the culture behind it. It makes the label look cooler. It gives them different culture.
And look, a remix, we can complain about majors, but a remix fee from major labels is always nice as well.
It's always nice.
Always nice.
And that they lose out so much money on things like that because they never recoup these remixes. A lot of these remixes, especially now with Spotify, where Spotify doesn't give a fuck about remixes. Apple don't give a fuck about that's a lie, actually. Apple does give a fuck about remixes. But like, you put a remix out on Spotify and it's like the likelihood of it doing well is very, very, very low.
Yeah, facts.
So it's like, yeah, these labels aren't really making that much money off the fees that they're buying into culture. They're buying your name. That's what
Yeah,
they're
that's true.
paying for.
That's true.
So it's
And
kind of,
they always will.
yeah.
I think that's they always will. They always will.